What is up, everybody? Welcome back to SPCS Series 3. We are here with tonight's match between JBL Speaker versus Crimson Marines here in the rookie division of our third series here. It's week 2 of the Swiss stage, so both these teams have already had one match under their belts. They both came out the victors in those respective romps, so now time to see who is going to suffer their first loss of this season so far.
Yep, looking at JBL and Crimson Marines. Crimson Marines won 3-2. Fun fact, that was actually a game 6. They drew in map 5, and then went to game 6, so that was pretty cool to see. And then JBL won 3-1. Some rosters faced 2 people at JBL. You might know them prior as Mass Effect. They have basically the core 4 members of that between Boo, Dire Raven, Opti, and Bionic Berry, and then newcomer Maru. This looks like their first time in SPCS, and then Crimson Marines on the other side. We have Chewy, Hateful Ace, Cambo, Ready Player Maddie or Maddie, Miracle Waves, and Flame.
Yeah, so on the side of JBL Speaker, you've got just 5 members of their roster, so no subs available to them, of course. If a roster feels as comfortable with their move pool, with their hero pool as they do, clearly shouldn't be too much of an issue there. Crimson Marines, of course, as you can see, do have a bit of a flexible position there, especially, of course, with Cambo still wrapping both the DPS and the support line, so plenty of a little bit of flexibility to be had. Certainly 6 is only very slightly higher than 5 in terms of team roster members, but having that chance to swap someone in and out can really be handy in a pinch. However, having 5 that you can rely on, like as you mentioned, Gilcher, that core roster on the side of JBL Speaker, really well tested, tried and true throughout the past, couple seasons so far. So certainly some history amongst these players with this team. So expect pretty good things from them coming through. Of course, as you mentioned, a 3-1 victory for them, but Crimson Marines, they had a 3-2, but a 6-map series, going into a draw in the 5th map, essentially breaking the spirits of the opposing team of Bees Nuts coming into that one there. So very hard-fought victory for them. But our first map of the day is going to be Busan here on Control.
Busan, we got our bans actually. It looks like JBL will be banning Reaper and Crimson banning Winston. I've been seeing a lot of Reaper, a lot of Winston in games, in my scrims. They're both very strong characters right now. I wouldn't be surprised to see some ball action again like we did last week. Or maybe like some Diva. Double Flex DPS is just so strong right now. Probably Tracer Genji for both sides. And I'm curious if they'll go Ana Wu Yang or if it'll be Kiri Lucio. I feel like those are the 2 backlines we keep consistently seeing across all levels. I feel like they're just kind of the best 4 picks right now. I have been seeing some Brig with Wu Yang lately. I wonder if we'll get any of that today. It seems a little niche and a little weird, but in some of my scrims I've been playing it, I've been seeing it more and more. Kind of see here when we get in this match, but Busan is very dive heavy on 2 of the maps. When you're in control, I think it's control center, the inside one, I forget what it's called, I'm blanking right now, but that's more kind of brawly. But I'm very curious to see. DPS lines again should be probably Genji Tracer, I imagine, maybe Sojourn, maybe Freya, but those seem to be the 4 top picks besides Reaper right now, given that Reaper is banned.
Yeah, so not an option, of course, for this map, but as the bans do sort of not carry over further into the next maps, that means they will not have the option to ban Reaper again, of course, unless it comes in from the opposite team on the other side there. So, yeah, choosing to be judicial about these bans, getting these problem heroes for your composition out of the way early on, it could also depend on a map-by-map sort of basis there. Certainly, Reaper has plenty of potential on Busan, and as you mentioned, Gilcher, tons of dive potential here, so without a Winston, your options of dive tank are slightly more narrowed. Of course, that Diva or Hazard, who's still been seeing a lot of play despite some nerfs that came through a little bit recently with the Season 18 patch going live, has to do damage with that Bone Spur to refill that jagged spike, that spike guard that he's got going on there. So a little bit less oppressive in terms of full damage reduction there, but still plenty doable, especially as a sort of hybrid brawl dive tank.
Yeah, and another character too. Oh, I mean, yeah, we'll see, but I feel like it'll be Kiri Lucio backlines, especially on this map at first. I have seen teams kind of play more poke on this map as well. I don't think that'll be the case, but we'll see. Trying to think, when we played Mass Effect, I don't remember their backline. I think they play a lot of Kiri Lucio, but I'm not sure. We'll see. It's like, yeah, it looks like it's gonna be ball Kiri Lucio. Yeah, and it's gonna be basically a full mirror minus Genji. It's gonna be Sojourn instead of Genji for Crimson, but Almost
Yeah,
full
Wrecking
mirror.
Ball, quite a staple on this map in particular here on Busan. Very common to see rolling around all angles of the objective here, playing a bit of tag alongside the Tracer and whatever other dive hero du jour happens to come out alongside her. But of course, Maddie and Optibot both piloting this Wrecking Ball here, diving into each other's backlines, trying to find the one less guarded than the other here at this point. Hateful Ace, first one to go down. Raven diving in and all the way deep onto the opposing backline alongside that Wrecking Ball pick there. Essentially two dive compositions here fully. Maximum speed being played on either side of the equation here as Taxi gets taken down. A ringer here on the side of Crimson Marines, but he is no longer on the objective. And Optibot just rolling through here on this Wrecking Ball, putting in some excellent work onto the squishier targets of Crimson Marines. And so with that, despite getting first touch here on the objective, Crimson Marines are ticking up some percentage here. They do get a couple kills. Hateful Ace is back in the fight, so I might have spoken a little bit too soon here. You do have Optibot diving directly on top of the Soldier and player of Crimson Marines here, and they finally will clean up Optibot. So despite what looked like a retake for JBL Speaker, Crimson Marines hold strong.
Yeah, you see all charge built up pretty fast for JBL for their tank, but then the backline for Crimson Marine, looks like they're going to have Tracer ult first, and they're getting very close to B as well, so this fight should come down to whoever gets mines first, or B probably wins the next fight. That's when the Tracers get to sticky too, that also will win you a fight as well.
Are now on this Sombra pick, trying to put a wrench in the plans of the opposing side, especially, of course, on that Wrecking Ball and onto that Tracer. And some excellent plays being had there. Hacked and call out to the rest of the team, trying to section off those vulnerable members of Crimson Marines. And despite a kill onto Raven, it looks as though JBL Speaker are going to make some headway onto the objective here, finally taking Maddie out on the objective. Although Crimson Marines have built up to quite a nearly a full stack of ultimates here, with only Hateful Ace and Taxi lagging slightly behind.
Yeah, and I was wondering too, pre-map, I've been seeing some Sombra and Symmetra combos together. I like the Sombra pick against the ball, obviously. It's very annoying when you're trying to play ball and as a ball one trick. You're trying to slam in and then you get hacked out every time. Big first kill there.
Yeah, Raven hanging around a little bit too close to the fire, unfortunately, so JBL Speaker have to play a lot more carefully back towards the objective. Optibot drops the mines from orbital, essentially, at that point, all over the objective, but members of Crimson Marines aren't really around to be bothered by it. They're really off on the side of the objective there, and Hateful Ace just doing what he does best and cleaning up the remaining members of JBL Speaker. So again, a spend coming out from JBL, but really getting nothing for it. The mines used out from Crimson Marines as well. In this case, with the Pulse Bomb from Chewy taking down both Maru and Bionic Berry. That is some
really
value
big
if ever
stagger.
I've seen one.
Berry's going to come back quick with Kitsune. If Taxi Kitsune is early, they could just win right here.
Yeah, absolutely. Boo is trying to sort of trace around the lingering edges of the map here, coming through. Has to get a foot on the objective here because, of course, we're up to 99% here for Crimson Marines. JBL Speaker open with the Kitsune Rush, mirrored on the other side by Taxis. The beat comes out from Cambo. Raven about to build up to one as she finally lets loose with it. There we go, laying onto three members here on the objective as the EMP. Really all ults being spent here onto the point. That EMP, massive at the end of the day, helps clean up the remaining members of Crimson Marines. That being said, Maddie and Cambo are still alive and combined for 2 kills onto Bionic and Boo. Raven falling shortly afterwards. Again here, JBL Speaker, despite having the edge in this fight, unfortunately just get themselves found out, pulled around the ringer, and Crimson Marines hold strong at 100% to 25.
Yeah, just no value on that EMP. I don't know if Sombra didn't call it, Mara didn't call it when she went up, but when she EMP'd, she actually got 3 members, but there was no follow-up on the EMP, and their target priority for JBL was severely lacking there. I think they all tried to int on to the ball, and in that case, I think they needed to go for the backline instead, because I think she hit EMP on both backline members, and they just didn't die. And Cambo and Taxi got out, and then it was very hard to come back from that. So once they lost their Kiri, once Barry was dead, it was tough.
Coming in now to Mecha Base, we're looking at a slightly different composition here. Of course, Ramatra is really the most common pick if you want to run this brawl style, especially fighting over the high ground, but also plenty of staying power on the objective here. Again, some slight reworks to how the armor works with the most recent season patch that came through, so not quite as unkillable as in previous eras here for Ramatra, but already getting found out as Maddie gets walled off, and she has to play so carefully here, falling back to the rest of the team, but Optibot does get Cambo out of that one, so not entirely a loss on their part, despite not being able to get the tank out quickly as you'd certainly like to. Both Immortality Fields already spent and done on both sides here, both Bionic and Taxi here on this Baptiste, alongside that Lucio. Another common sort of backbone we've been seeing here to really combo that speed alongside that massive burst heal, and you can really get out of that Bionic launcher there. Excellent sectioning off here. That Maywall from Maru is doing such incredible work. Someone is going to have to cap the objective. They finally get down to it.
As you about to say, those walls have been absolutely massive. And the slows that Opti's throwing out, the big thing about Ramatra players, the good ones at least, they always hit their slows in the back line instead of just throwing the other tank. And Opti's slows have been huge. That first pick, he slowed 4 of them. That was a free kill for Sojourn.
Yeah, really have to work around this May pick here. Crimson Marines are not having an excellent time so far, getting slowed up and walled off at every corner here. Putting in a bunch of damage, though. They're eating just as much. And the Annihilation coming out from Optibot early in this fight here. So much damage being done to build up towards that ultimate here. Just getting healed up and ticking that damage slowly down. Yeah, Hateful Ace not going to get a chance to run away with that one.
Yeah, and you just see these May walls they're putting in. They're just putting a huge damper. And also, Maddie's forcing arms, I think, too early. I think she needs to hold her arms a little bit more, because she's using them right away. And then when she has no arms, you know, all her armor's gone, and then her cooldowns are just botched at that point. I think if she can hold a little bit longer and force out Opti's arms first, and then counter arm, I think it would be huge for them.
As we do have the Blizzard ready to go, Maddie does get the better of Boo, so falling down, no chance for Boo to build up towards that overclock as was so close to do, but Optibot is there with those arms, just like you were saying, just cleaning through the squishier members being softened up by the Blizzard. Maru hits that ultimate, and really it's game over for Crimson Marines.
Yeah, I like to see Crimson Marines try going a different way this time, maybe go underneath. They have ults, they should have ults soon, instead of trying to force this. Looks like they're going to split off. I didn't even realize the Genji swap. I like the Genji swap though. They have Blade here. It should be good for them. Chewie can find a way to the back line.
Plenty of ults ready on the side of Crimson Marines. It's just a matter of judicious application of it. That Annihilation comes through, but Hateful Eight's the first one to fall when that overclock was just being launched into the fray here. And unfortunately, everyone from JBL Speaker is still alive and kicking here. That overclock from Boo getting in a bit more work at the tail end of that fight. And there's just 7% left to go here on the objective as it ticks up, but I don't know if anyone from Crimson Marines is going to get a chance to touch. JBL Speaker are trying to play gate guard as much as possible, and Cambo gets onto the objective. Overtime is triggered here, but that is all you're going to get as Maddie falls as well. Bionic Berry and Optibot teaming up for so much damage on the objective here. There's just nothing that the trickling members of Crimson Marines can do. Chewie, however, makes me eat my words immediately with a blade that takes out 2 remaining members on the side of JBL, but there's still 3 alive and kicking here. With that, though, unfortunately, the rest will get fallen down one by one. A faint touch by Cambo at the very end, once again, to trigger the overtime to begin with. But that is all they're going to get, and we're going to a round 3 on Busan.
Yeah, and you see how much more comfortable JBL is on that brawl style. I mean, you could just night and day from the first round, right? And I think that, you know, the core of this team, they've been playing brawl since as long as I can remember. And Opti looks so much more comfortable on this ram than he did on ball. And I almost like to see them maybe stay on it and force the fight on point. That they are going to go back to the dive comp, but I think they just work so well. I mean, why not just force it on point? If they go ball, that's fine. just sit on point, bunker down, stay in the same picks, and I think you just win. But so they're going to go back to the mirror. So besides maybe a diva instead of ball, but. Yeah,
I likewise didn't have an incredible amount of confidence in Opti's ball coming through here. We'll see if he decides to stick with it all the way through, or if that's a swap that comes out, especially seeing that Maddie is over here on the Diva instead of that ball. Hateful Ace and Chewie are on that Tracer Genji, mirrored on the other side by Boo and Maru, so a lot of, again, still that dive potential being had, trying to devour the backline, who is incredibly mobile at this point, though, but Maddie is the first one to get the kill. Boo gets a little bit too close for comfort there, and just eating so much damage from those fusion cannons. Chewie cleans up Dire Raven as well. This is kind of shades of exactly what we were seeing on the very first round here of Busan. Hopefully that is Optibot going back to spawn to maybe switch to something a bit more their speed.
Yeah, there's their much. But yeah, see, this is what I really roll about on. I know it's frustrating and double dive the backline, but like I think with Lucio and with Bat, they can survive the dive long enough for Opti to turn around and then help you for the backline. And you just force the fight on point. It should be good.
Yeah, with Maru, of course, doesn't have those tight chokes to play with those Mei walls as you do on Mecha Base, but still plenty of room to get a lot of work done here. And of course, Baptiste does have that ability to access high ground easy enough with those boots. Exo boots, as they are, I believe, called here. But Opti going through, trying to hold down the objective as solidly as you can. Bionic Bear and Dire Ribbon doing their very best, but unfortunately just getting found out. This dive front line here from Crimson Marines is no joke. And of course, they're already building up towards ultimates here. They prefer not to spend them if they didn't have to, but this Pulse Bomb is a bit of a juicy target here to be found in Optibot. Does get the stick, finds Dire Raven. Unfortunate there. No chance for that Lucio to build up towards the ultimate. So close to doing so. Yeah, here on the objective still is Optibot still trying to hold down. They do manage to get the flip finally, but I don't know how much longer it's going to last considering JBL Speaker's teammates are still coming back from spawn at this point. But the rest of Crimson Marines have fallen back and sort of beaten a retreat to this high ground here. So it looks as though plenty of work is being done and pressure being put in onto the squishier targets of Crimson Marines here. But that continued rush coming through. And of course, Dire Ribbon answers here with this beat. The Blade is having a tough time cutting through all of that armor, all of that overhealth being gained. And so really finds no value for it at the end of the day. The boop is the only thing to take out the immortality field, but it was beautifully deployed there to keep everyone alive. Opti goes for that annihilation, cleaning up the members, falling so low on the side of Crimson Marines here. JBL Speaker, if they're smart, they will not spend any more ultimates in this fight, but it looks as though they've got this one done and dusted.
Crimson Marines keeps triggering that Opti's ult. Like once everyone's dead, don't walk back into him to re-trigger that extended duration. Let them ult roar out, then go back in. That damage is just so frustrating. It looks like Mei's gonna match where I am here. I love this Pharah pick too. I think Pharah is still in a really strong space. It's a really strong space right now. Yeah, I'm surprised not having teams are playing here.
Mario does have this Blizzard ready to go on the high ground, sensing an opportunity, wants to potentially get a wall off and cordon off the remaining members. Yep, just managed to get everyone out though, so the Vortex is slowing down the members. Mario does manage to get out with his life there. That wall does clean up and cut off the Ramadra from the rest of the team. Maddie's having to play so carefully here, having to watch out. That slight cooldown being had on the arms block. As you pointed out, you have to be so much more careful about managing that resource on Ramadra these days here. Bionic does go ahead with that window, and it's just enough to put so much damage and healing onto the remaining members of JBL Speaker. And we're now ticking up towards almost 90%, and Crimson Marines, they don't have a lot to work with.
I mean, really nothing, and maybe they'll get Taxi Wall before. I mean, they're at 90%, pushing fast. I don't even know. I guess you gotta get Tracer Touch, hopefully. Yeah, he's going around on the outside. Touch here.
Yeah, it looks like
cooldowns here. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, just gonna make it there. Overtime is started burning here. The wick finally dwindling its way down. Overclock out from Boo. Trying to find those squishier members. Doesn't able to find anyone there. Low ground to high ground. That's not exactly the position you want to be in as Maddie cleans up Boo. And both immortality fields also down quickly here as the fight goes on the objective. You have this high ground control from Taxi cleaning up the tank player. Optibot really didn't stand a chance with that incredible pressure coming through from the Baptiste. So much work being done from this high ground by the Baptiste through this window and without. Well done by Crimson Marines to flip that in such a dire position there with very little to work with in terms of ults.
Absolutely. I think Taxi, looking back, I would like to have that ult still. I don't know if he needed it to win that fight, but nevertheless, he felt like he needed it in order to win, and they got the flip. So you're going to have Maddie's ult probably before this last fight. Maru's going to have her ult. I will say it's going to be very frustrating if you're trying to hold the form. If you get throws out, oh no.
Oh, an early kill on a Taxi. That is brutal. That is going to be the death knell potentially for Crimson Marines here. Building up toward that sound barrier. Cambo hopes to get it online, but unfortunately it's not going to be able to as Optibot is just there with those Ramadra arms pummeling them to death. No chance at all to lock it down on the objective here as it's just the trickling members. Hateful Ace here is doing their very best just to try and hit the pulse bomb. Does not get the stick as he falls to Optibot once again. This Ramadra putting in so much work for JBL Speaker here. Super glad that they stuck with this composition here. That beat lands only onto Combo. Does keep him alive for just a few seconds longer. Just gets Maddie back in. She's back on this wrecking ball here as she hopefully tries to get a bit more time on the objective. Tries to buy a bit more for the rest of the team to come back, but looks like it's not to be the case here. JBL Speaker just looking comfortable. Still with a couple ults in their back pocket here. Optibot doesn't even have to let go with this final annihilation, and that is going to do it. What looked like an early lead for Crimson Marines turned around into JBL Speaker's favor, and they will take the first map in the series.
So yeah, night and day difference between the Brawl comp and the Dive comp. But now if you're Crimson Marines, you're going to map 2. Hopefully you've seen this too, that they're so much stronger on Brawl than they are Dive. I would almost want to force a Dive comp here. Maybe like a Gibraltar or something where you're more comfortable than them and force them to play your game. Because I mean, yeah, once they swapped to this brawl, it was night and day difference.
Yeah, it was really difficult for Crimson Marines to sort of play their own style once JBL Speaker had such a strong control of that final round there on the center of the city. So difficult to work around all the different CC, all the different utility being had, especially when you've got Maru doing so much work on that Mei. Again, as we mentioned, of course, an obvious pick on Mecha Base, but just that comp was doing so well for them and felt so well oiled that I feel like it made an excellent choice for JBL Speaker to go back to that comp when they saw it was not immediately working out the gate. A lot of these teams will sometimes stick on a composition that's not working for a little bit too long and then put themselves on the back foot in terms of ult charge, in terms of just general tempo for the match there. So I'm glad they saw the light. They saw a little bit of sense there and swapped to the comp that worked for them so well in the previous round.
You are a dive team, or if you are a team that's better at brawl, you know, and you get on a map and one's working, the other one's not, and one's your bread and butter, why not just go back to it? And again, I think a lot of that just is like whoever your in-game leader is has to kind of identify those things and then be like, all right, hey, you know, this isn't working, let's go back to brawl. And someone on JBL did. I'm not sure who it was, but they made the right call, and then obviously it paid off for them in the long run. I mean, that last map, even though the scoreline was close, I mean, once they swapped over off dive, it really wasn't that close in the third map.
Yeah, I really felt that JBL Speaker had started to learn the tricks that Crimson Marines had to work with going into that final round. You really had them sort of have that dive mirror in the very first round, where it just felt like Optibot was not at all comfortable on that Wrecking Ball. They were trying to play this same style that Crimson Marines looked so much more practiced on, and despite the swap up from Maru on to that Sombra, he just wasn't able to get the value we were expecting to find out of that pick. When you just have so many targets to lock down that can just put so much distance and run rings around your backline, as fast as they are with those dive compositions, just finding a way to make those compositions run. Now, I don't even know if a brawl comp would have worked for them on that first round, just because of the way that point is styled and with how good Crimson Marines were at playing that ball comp. But the fact they were able to take it to a third and final was really the absolute linchpin for them to continue to close that one out there, because they looked really confident on Mecha Base, and I think if they get their choice, they want to take us to more brawl the further we get into the series.
Absolutely, and I think like going back to what you said in the first point, the brawl heavy teams that I kind of mentioned earlier, that I think you see kind of switch up as more kind of like poke on that map. I see a poke or dive because it's obviously so big and so many long angles you can take on the outsides. But yeah, so this map, I'm very curious to see what the Marines ban here. I think that Mei was giving them a lot of issues, but if they're going dive, they shouldn't have to ban Mei. I think that they can kind of just play around that if they go Mei on a dive map. But once they decide the map, I think it'll be kind of telling. On the flip side, if you are JBL and they dig you a dive map, I'm looking at banning ball. I know Winston was banned in map 1, but I think if you ban ball, I just think I think it would be a big first ban, or maybe ban like a tracer or something to follow up with that. I guess, so we're going to Route 66. This is an interesting map choice by Crimson. This is kind of more of a poke slash, I guess you can go dive on the first point on offense, but I mean, map point 3 is 100% brawl. Point 1s and 2, I guess you could go dive on, but like once you're inside, it's all brawl. So interesting choice by them. Maybe they're confident on another comp. I've seen Sigma on this before. I've seen Arissa. I've seen lots of different picks in this map. Ram still is pretty strong. I'm very curious what the bans will be here. Oh, and Marines they banned Sojourn, so no Sojourn for the first one. I wonder if they're going to try to force the Genji Tracer Mirror on dive. I'm assuming that's kind of what their goal is here. We'll see what JBL answers with. Again, ball is not a bad ban here either. Yes, that's what I'm thinking. I could be wrong. You could also look to ban maybe Curie if you want to go. I've seen a lot of Ana Wu Yang in this map. Lots. Wu Yang has so many different long angles. He can send his ball down. It does so much damage. That makes it very hard to dive him anyways. I think the underappreciated aspect of that backline too, people understand Ana Wu Yang is not an easy like dive targets. Once they have those ults and they just peel for each other with it, if they can, or even just like the double amped up healing that the Bio Nade provides and Wu Yang tidal wave, like it's a hard backline to dive. So very curious to see what this ban will be here. Could definitely see a Curie ban happening though, and forcing the Ana Wu Yang.
Yeah, the impressive amount of high ground, as you mentioned, on points A and B definitely are the ones that could really lead us towards this sort of dive or just long-range poke sort of option to him. But JBL decided to go with that Kiriko ban, so very much following your advice there. Yeah, getting the Kiriko out of their hands can be such a linchpin, especially with the way that Crimson Marines are playing here, and that some of their dive compositions can fall apart a little bit or require, some different tools to play around. Of course, not having access to that cleanse that the Suzu offers to you is massive if you're running any sort of heroes that want to run with either tick damage or something like an anti, which of course there's plenty of long sightlines to be had for an Ana to work with both on offense and defense, although as you mentioned, probably a bit more common on defense. And something that we could certainly see Crimson Marines rocket through with here, especially alongside that Wuyong, who's had a lot of flexibility, really shown up in a few different compositions here between different supports, whether it's obviously not going to be Kiriko Wuyong on this particular map here since she's banned out, but always a possibility going forward here. And yeah, alongside that Ana, there's a lot of potential for them to peel for each other. And of course, between their two ultimates there, massive buffs to be had for the opposing team, for the other members of their team.
Absolutely, and like I said, now it almost feels like you have to go on a Wu Yang. They're just so strong together. And the only difference I'll say in playstyle now that the Kiri Lucio is off the table, when you're playing Ana, like when you're playing Kiri, you're teleporting in and Suzuing kind of get out. Now it's kind of the same thing, except for with Ana, you're looking to line up those bio nades on the high ground, line them up, then have your Winston or Ball slam in or jump in, and hopefully you can kill their backline before they kill yours. A lot of this has happened last week when I was casting with Rain. A lot of it just kind of happens to whoever's backline dies first. Normally it's the team that loses the fight. Again, a lot of it is just kind of hearsay, but we'll see. I would be very surprised. JBL is something on rollout on Brig Bap. It's interesting. I don't hate it. I like the Brig pick. It can help with the dive. I understand the Bat with the Sigma and the Genji, but I almost just feel like Wu Yang's really strong right now. I think it's very hard when those picks are open and Kiri's banned. It's very hard to kind of rationalize not picking those picks just because it's so much damage and so much output, and even so much healing too. Like Wu Yang's healing numbers are very kind of slept on, so I'm very curious to see how this is going to work out for them.
Yeah, we'll see if Crimson Marines want to stick with this one here. You've got Maddie, of course, on to this unbanned Winston, now free, of course, to play with that Monkey Scientist here. I was kind of curious to see if Combo is going to do a speed out and then swap to the Wuyong, but no, sticking on this Lucio pick here so far. Could be a level of comfort, of course. The hero is still quite new, but expect to see a lot of these, especially at main support, although that's kind of lost a bit of definition here in recent years. But seeing these particular players pick this up a bit more frequently here. But yeah, on the defense, this is, apart from the Genji pick, a pretty solid poke defense long range composition here. Octobot, of course, on that Sigma, wants to be on that high ground as much as possible, though not at all upset with being brought down to low ground here just to contest the cart a little bit, especially around this corner, as Maddie is having to do her very best, but unfortunately has to fall all the way back there. You've got Maru with this Genji, this skin alongside the Nerf sword, just fantastic. Love to see those two together. But yeah, so alongside here on this Genji pick is kind of the one assassin you need on the team so far, hoping to clean up all these kills, all this damage being broken in by Boo on this long-range Ashe here.
They're really struggling right now. Crimson is getting space. They need to send they need to send Hateful Ace on a flank here, probably underneath, and have him set up behind. Oh, there you go, big jump in right there. But again, those are the bound nade missed. Dash is alive. Ooh, big whip shot.
Yeah, just managed to stay alive there, keeping the other members of the team just for a moment longer. Optibot goes down low, but is able to let off that gravitic flux. Massive damage being wrought through, taking out 3 members nearly single-handedly there. Beautifully done, well put together by JBL. Honestly, seeing a Sigma build up the flux that quickly, I don't know if Crimson Marines were expecting that.
They're just attaining too much poke. They're really struggling trying to get space right now. They keep forcing this push. They have to spread out. They're building ult charge. They're feeding it all. The Opti is sitting around this corner. He's not taking any damage, and they're all, look how grouped up they are. These balls are just doing 34% already.
Yeah, Barry has this window on the high ground. Of course, the pulse bomb almost out. They were sort of tempting it, but Hateful Ace just eats a blade to the face as Maru dashes all the way through, cleaning up that trace and essentially putting this offense, stuffed into a bag, saved for a rainy day. Maddie is able to get the better of Optibot, though, as Maru cleans up Chewy, and Maddie is just eating so much damage. The blade pulled by Maru. That is exactly what you want to see from your Genji here to clean up this fight when it looked a little bit dire. Losing your Sigma pick, that is the perfect way to close this fight out. Now Hateful Ace eats a bit of damage, takes a nice dynamite to the face, but is about to have this pulse bomb.
they're forcing this push up. Like I like to see Ace go on a really long flank here. I know it takes some time off the clock, but just gotta get, yeah, I like this. Go underneath and get set up, and then as soon as he's ready, have this monkey jump in, and it should be a free pulse bomb.
Cambo has to play so carefully, has that sound barrier online, but almost went down before the chance to use it. Taxi about to have this nano as well here. Dire Raven and Bionic Barry are just on this high ground, trying to bunker down as much as they possibly can. Boo gets Chewy out early in this fight here. The range being had by this Ashe cannot be underestimated here. Maddie is about to build up towards this Primal Rage, and yeah, just cleaning up Dire Raven there on the back end of that fight as Cambo does get the final blow in that one. But coming out of, yeah, the rest of the spawn point there, you do have, oh yeah, Maddie just falls down, taken down by Maru as just so much damage being forced in her face. Builds up towards that Primal Rage, but still not able to get it out before falling down. As Crimson Marines are being stuffed again here, and you're just able to get Hateful Ace out at the very end.
Yeah, and you got Maddie's ult now, you got Nano. I like to see a Nano engage off Bio Nade here. You really need to get tech set up here so we can get a huge Bio Nade. There you go, good Nano. Oh.
Nano Monkey onto the high ground. The Flux does come through. Still so much damage even through the Nano. Has to go for the Primal Rage as Taxi is trying to maintain that long distance pressure and long distance healing certainly being had, but that high ground having to watch out for the environmental potential from that Whip Bash, but Ready Player Maddie is just there putting in so much work for it there. Maddie doing so much devastation on the front line, cleaning up Optibot at the very end of this one here as the rest of Crimson Marines are still alive and kicking on the objective as Mario falls down, but Maddie goes as well. Optibot finally gets taken down as overtime is triggered here. Boo nope, does not manage to get away. The fadeaway headshot from Cambo, beautifully done. Crimson Marines, I mean, they haven't gotten this one just yet. There's gonna be one final contest.
Yeah, they're gonna have Pulse. They're gonna have Blade soon. They're gonna have Lucio. I mean, this should be able to get this first point here. I don't even know if they're gonna get back in time. They might just get. Oh, they're on the sim pick now. They TP'd out of spawn. I like that. That's smart.
Sim out from Maru. Okay, so trying to maintain some point presence here on the side of that beams and those blasts, those turrets. Again, so many utility options available. Taking Chewy out of the fight with Taxi falling shortly after. I mean, that's got to be the death knell here for Crimson Marines as JBL Speaker rolling forward, building up towards ultimates here. You've got Barry with this window ready to go, and there's no one left on the cart. So with that, Crimson Marines are going to fall down just shy of the first point here. What looked like they'd cracked it wide open in overtime. Unfortunately, then all the way packing with not a single point to their name.
Yeah, and you know, I will say at the end, that was getting the extra progress is definitely helpful. You can kind of just hard bunker down that first corner right there, then even fight a second fight before you lose. But that pulse bomb, man, is unfortunate. They took too long to kill the lamp that was thrown. He lamped, Bionic Barry lamped super early in that fight. I think they just needed to make the comp kill a lamp, then both their supports would have died instantly, and then it could have been a totally different fight. But I think just little things like that help Crimson Marines a lot, and I think that the last push was good, and I'm curious what they go on defense here. It's a lot harder to play dive on this map when you're on defense. I almost would like to kind of see them go kind of the same-ish comp that JBL was running with the Sigma, so they're gonna go Diva instead, which isn't a terrible pick. I really would like to see Wu Yang. I think that helped Crimson Marines a lot. I mean, having that extra poke damage would just be huge on defense, especially. But looks like they're gonna go Lucio, which isn't a terrible pick. Lucio has so many different uses and utilities, but the speed obviously is huge. But looks like they're gonna go Diva. I don't mind the Diva pick here. Looks like JBL is gonna roll out on the dive comp. This will be interesting. And I think a lot of it too is just getting your Ana set up. Like, you know, Ana's gonna play on the high ground right here. As long as you get JBL set up, this should be a free bio name with a slam if they coordinate this right.
Octobot still coming out on the Wrecking Ball here. Okay, so they want to force this dive on the offense here, having Opti go up to this high ground and just send everyone packing as quickly as possible. But with the mobile composition, with the exception, of course, of Ace and Taxi, Crimson Marines are not going to be too stymied by that, having to worry about a Wrecking Ball in your backline. That being said, Maru is in the skybox on that Freya, cleaning up Chewy, and Boo takes Ace out quickly. All right, so turns out there was just enough distraction being had by Opti, and everyone else from JBL is just able to pay dividends on the back end of that one there, doing so much damage on to the surviving members as they just get cleaned up one by one. Taxi falling down yet again there. Crimson Marines, I mean, this one is just, feels like it's over before it began.
Brutal stagger on Taxi. Unless they go Taxi him back to point, and I don't know if we'll get there in time. I only have one on the cart, so they should be good. Oh no.
Boo finds Chewy out early in this fight here. No Tracer pressure means that everyone else is free to run Riot over your tank, and Maddie is falling lower and lower. Has to back up to get that Mega Pack. Does manage to heal up, and Hate Blaze does get the better of Boo. Okay, so it's finally a trade going their way as Maddie cleans up Dire Raven as well. Backline only alive on the side of JBL Speaker is Barry, who finally gets taken down. Ace here on this Freya is putting on an absolute clinic here in keeping this team alive. Crimson Marines on the back of this Freya pick is certainly keeping themselves in this fight, about to have that bullet shot as well.
Maddie got DMAC'd. That is brutal. Yikes. I don't even know if she can reset. She can't. She just builds up with her pistol. Big slam on out of dev.
Yeah, Taxi falling down, but Optibot is anti there, so honestly, killing with faint praise there, as going down to that bola shot, you're without a tank at the end of this fight, but Maru is here putting in so much damage, it might not even matter getting Maddie before she can get back into the mech. That is absolutely brutal there, cleaning up the last remaining members of Crimson Marines. JBL Speaker are rolling this payload forward to that golden box of victory just before point A. Crimson Marines are trying to get one last desperate touch. Tambo is able to get a foot on the payload, but that is it. No more. Booped back and finished off, and no one else is there to benefit from it. JBL Speaker, in an even more commanding fashion, take the second map in the series and put themselves up on series point.
Yeah. Honestly, the map pick, I wasn't necessarily a big fan of your Marines. I feel like in that first map, you rolled that first point so hard on dive, and you kind of gave them a chance. Like, you gave JBL a chance to go this poke comp on defense. I feel like there's a lot better picks you could have chose there, especially with just the cart maps. Like, I think Gibraltar's in the pool. I had to pull it up and double check. I'm almost certain it is. Like, I think Gibraltar would have been much better because it kind of forces them on that mirror, and I think it just would have been a better pick for them. I'd like to see kind of the same in map 3. We shall see. But I mean, honestly, again, I'm very surprised by the no Wu Yang pick. I know maybe no one really comfortable on playing it. I do know that right now has a ringer in and Taxi in their support, so maybe it's kind of throwing a wrench in their plans. But I just would like to see, like, if you're gonna ban Kiri, I feel like you almost have to go Wu Yang. Just, I know even if you don't play the character, it's just so strong right now. Like, it's one of those characters where it's like, it's just such a strong pick, and so I'm curious to do map 3. But yeah.
Yeah, certainly have to see some sort of swap up coming through here on the side of Crimson Marines. Because honestly, whatever they're making, you know, whatever they're trying to roll with now is just not working for them. It did okay on the very first round of Busan, but since that point, we haven't really seen a whole lot of brilliance coming through for them, unfortunately, here. So we want to find, as you're saying, I really want to see them find a place for their composition to really hit its stride, and it really felt that 66 might not have been the pick for that, allowing that crazy long-range potential. And yes, there's plenty of high ground. Yes, there's dive potential to be had. And Maddie was doing an excellent job on that Winston. The rest of the team supporting her and putting her all the way into that backline. But by the time you get there, you're just whittled down to the absolute marrow of it all by all those shots coming through from Boo on the Ashe, and just all the consistent poke damage being put through by the Baptiste as well. There's really nothing left of you by the time you get to that backline, and there was really no answer for that. You know, you really kind of hope to find a Tracer, but as we called out during the map itself, they just kept all running together through those boxcars on this first rollout of spawn, just eating so much damage, feeding so much ult charge, just to get in the fight.
Yeah, I feel like, honestly, Taxi built up that nano on that first fight so quickly. And I just think it was okay. So I was mistaken. Gibraltar's not in the map pool this season, but I feel like, yeah, the dives were not coordinated very well. I felt like whenever, like, there was times when the Tracer would go in, or Genji, whoever it was, and either Maddie wasn't there with them, or vice versa, or Maddie was going in and Cambo and Chewy maybe weren't there. So I think a lot of it's Hateful Ace, not Cambo, weren't there, and I think that just coordinating those dives a little bit better. We are going to go New Queen. You can play dive here. This is a ball-heavy map, in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised either to kind of counter the ball, at least from what I've been seeing a lot of, too. I think the Rise of Junker Queen is a very slept-on pick right now. Granted, Kiri was banned, so she kind of counters JQ, but JQ is very good into the ball, so I almost wonder if JBL is thinking about this on this map, or maybe even Hazard. Hazard's kind of plays the same way as JQ. But I'm very curious if the bans will be here. I could see a Lucio ban coming out. Lucio's very strong. Oh, so there's going to be a Kree by Crimson Marine. So it looks like, I mean, based on that, they're going to want to go Tracer. I mean, that stun grenade is very annoying when you're Tracer and you get one tap from it. Imagine it's probably going to be ball for them. JB could ban the ball here if they really wanted to. I wouldn't hate that ban. Could also look to ban maybe a Lucio or like, so if you kind of ban Lucio, it kind of hampers the Kiriko again, right? I mean, you can go Kiriko Wu Yang, but it's not as strong as Ano Wu Yang. I'm very curious to see what JBL will ban here, but I really do. I like this pick out of Crimson Marines. I think it's going to benefit their comp more than JBL. But I mean, I almost wouldn't have hated like a Ramatra ban here, because you imagine JBL could just run back to Ramatra and again kind of bunker on point. But we'll see what they go here. I really think too, with Taxi being a ringer, I think kind of getting Taxi comfortable on pick they're comfortable on, whether that be the Ana or the Curie, is very huge. I'm very curious again. I imagine JBL bans ball maybe. Reaper is playable again, so you could see Reaper on this map. Granny was playable last map, but we didn't see it. But maybe, yeah, I don't know. Let's see what they ban here. Very curious.
Yeah, of course, banning that Ramatra also would have guaranteed your protection for Wrecking Ball. They wouldn't be able to have a tank ban on the other side. So, Crimson Marines clearly finding that they do not want to have that Cassidy on the field or want to protect DPS ban even more. Although, with both these teams have been playing pretty much the same DPS line for the most part coming through, so there's really not a whole lot to be done protection. So that's got to be a targeted ban. But we haven't really seen, as you're saying, we haven't seen Cassidy all series so far. So it's just down to JBL's decision coming through. Of course, having Kiriko back in the lineup for Crimson Marines, I think unlocks a level of play that they really want to keep rolling with. That really made them a whole lot of success on that first map of the series. The Orisa ban from JBL Speaker. Okay, so, I mean, we got to see OptiBall go through on the ball pick of their own on the very first and second maps of the series here. So I guess you don't want to ban it because you want to play it yourself. Although I really think the team looked so much better on those Ram comps, on those Brawl styles, that it's kind of more of a net positive to ban the ball out. But the Orisa ban, so that really opens up a lot more tank picks. It really gives a lot more room to play Queen, to play your hazards, even Mauga if you're feeling that on the objective here, all of whom, of course, really do not like having to deal with that Kiriko. So that's going to be a bit of a wrinkle in the plans on the side of JBL Speaker.
I could be mistaken here, but if my math's mathin', I'm pretty sure that this was JBL's map pick. I think Crimson gave up the map choice to get the first ban choice. So if you don't know how SPCS works, the way it works is if you pick the map, then the other team is the first map ban. Now it says in here that Crimson did pick it. Maybe I'm mistaken here, but I'm fairly certain that if you pick the map, the other team is the first ban pick. The Crimson did pick? Okay, never mind. Crimson did pick the map, so looks like they did get first ban as well. Anyhow, I hope this is not what they want to play. I'm very surprised by this Orisa ban. Crimson, I don't think they're going to play Orisa. I don't know if it's just kind of a throwaway ban. I'm very curious. I imagine it's probably going to be Ball Mirror, or again, JQ is... I know Niall seeing a lot as much as I think you should. I think JQ is such a sleeper pick right now, and it's so good into what teams want to do. I mean, if you can't like force her down and she shouts in, she just evaporates everybody. But so we are gonna get the Ball Mirror. I like the Freya pick. I like the Sombra to counter the ball. This should be a fun map, I think.
Yeah, clearly both teams feeling very confident on this composition here, and from what I got to see from JBL Speaker with Optibot on that ball on the last map on their offense on Route 66, I feel a bit more confident, especially compared to what we got to see. Although it could just be the fact that the ball mirror does not favor them, so we'll see exactly how that plays out. Boo now on this Sombra pick where Maru is instead piloting the Genji here. You do have Ace on that Freya pick and Chewy on the Tracer, so different DPS lines, but otherwise identical here. Maru is cleaning up the back line entirely from Crimson Marines. This fight done and dusted before it can truly be underway here. Optibot putting in so much work harassing everyone else, and Maru is just there to clean up beautifully. Maddie does get a kill on Dire Raven, but that might just be a little bit of... that's all they're going to get, unfortunately, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I was just about to say, too, you have to have someone mark this Freya, because with... So we're going to a pause, but let's say if they're going to go Freya, JBL is going to have a very hard time trying to mark that character out, because she just sits so high in the air, right? And with the comp that they have going, It's gonna be hard to get onto her, but I mean, if you just pick the Curie right off the bat, I mean, that was a great hack by Boo. Waited till she wall climbed in the middle of her wall climb, hacked her out, and then the Genji was there to help clean up too, and it instantly deleted her. That just kind of shows the power of Sombra. But I will say, when you are playing Sombra, it is a lot harder to go on the backline when it's Curie Lucio because a lot of Curie Lucios are just gonna flip the fight. So like once you kind of try to initiate that hack, good Curie should try to TP out and cancel it. Then you're kind of like, oh, he just kind of wasted all his time getting that backline. But I do think this still favors Crimson just from what we saw in map 1. Even though they lost that first fight, I just think target priority. Now they're gonna mirror with a Sombra as well. I think the target priority is kind of a big thing here. And again, a lot of it's just whose backline dies first, and we are going back into it. So.
All right, right back into the thick of it here. Opti and Maru both building up a decent amount of ult charge there. Barry getting the better of Chewy there. I was about to call out how well the Tracer's doing so far, but unfortunately just getting a little bit tapped by that Kiriko. Turns out when a hero is unbanned, it's for both teams here. So Crimson Marines have to be aware of Bionic Barry here on the other side. Taxi, of course, doing very well, but it certainly is not the Ana pick that we were seeing from him so far earlier in the series here. Opti does get the better of Hateful Ace. Maddie falling down as well. I mean, this fight, again, just kind of steamrolling here. Not a really clean separation from Crimson Marines, and they're just getting picked apart one by one. They really have to disengage, or they're all going to fall down here, and you've got Opti so ready to feast on this backline.
Great
has to be a bit more careful, because again, as you mentioned, they can play a bit more defensively here. And it looks like Cambo is just there to peel in time.
Yeah, and one thing too, these dives by Crimson Marines, they're just not coordinated. Like, ball slammed in, got 3 of them, and there was just no follow-up. They just need to be going in together. Even, like, right out Chewy, and then Sombra. Yeah, it's just, they just need to be coordinated, that's all.
Yeah, Chewy getting in, almost finding the kill on to Barry, but not able to clean up there. Building up towards those ultimates on the side of JBL Speaker, about to have a full 5 slate as Crimson Marines. Building up towards them themselves. Pulse Bomb goes through, not able to find anything for it. Does a bit chip damage on the other side, but that rush coming through from Bionic Barry is the first thing laid down over the objective here. Maru again cleaning up 2 kills, exact at the same state as the first round fight here coming through on New Queen Street. So building up towards this blade, only 1 ult spent for either side, but JBL Speaker still coming out the victor, and they have already taken the first point.
Yeah, Maru's just been absolutely massive this game. I think it's like his 10th final blow. The newcomer's putting in absolutely massive work in this third map. All big mines too.
Mines coming through, but got a little bit hacked. I don't know if we got the full rollout of that so far. Yeah, it looked as though, because Hateful Ace, of course, is back on the Sombra of his own here. Yeah, so, yeah, did able to let it down onto the objective there, but it looks as though Opticalbot is still controlling all the way forward here. Bionic Barry, it's just absolutely falling apart at the seams here as Crimson Marines, only 2 members left alive and just getting back to spawn. I mean, I hate to say it, but it looks as though we might see a full cap here if things continue this way.
Yeah, if you follow Hunter or Commander X, they call this Admiral Theory. Once you're over 100 meters, it's very, very tough to come back. Shout out to Commander X and Admiral. But anyhow, down 102, I mean, this is a big fight. Oh, no.
Yeah, EMP comes through from Boo. Isn't able to clean up there. Does finally get Taxi at the back end of it. Just manages to get out with his life. Mario does have this blade, gets hacked out, but Dire Raven is the one to fall as Chewy is able to put in massive amounts of assassination work here. And it looks as though the bot has already been taken and is currently pushing past the center point here. So JBL Speaker need to beat a hasty retreat just to get back to the payload, back to that bot. Barry does get the better of Cambo there, so no Lucio, no speed boost on the side of Crimson Marines, and Maddie is the one to feel the ire from that Sombra hack. Just manages to roll away and get healed up, but again, that is one fight being taken all the way back. Chewy again does find Boo, so these fights are not clean from JBL Speaker, but still, with the bot being so far in the lead, again, by over 100 meters, that is still such a massive deficit to make up for Crimson Marines.
Yeah, this should be good staggers though right here. And they're pushing the bot too, so they're gonna get their progress started. I mean, here we go. This is how it all begins. I've seen some pretty crazy comeback on these type of game modes with these push bots, and it really just takes one snowball. So we'll see. They have EMP. They could just... They can't use anything. Oh no.
Nope, doesn't manage to find out the Tracer there, so just manages to get away in time. Optibot does have this minefield ready to go. Does get hacked out, so wisely held onto that before letting it loose and getting it a little bit Ajax, unfortunately. But Maru does let loose with the blade, taking out both Hateful Ace and Taxi as Chewy falls down as well. That is a couple ults spent for JBL Speaker, but well applied as 2 for Crimson Marines also come out. but unfortunately don't get a ton of value there, and Maddie finally falls the back end of that fight. And again, as much push as they can put onto this bot here for Crimson Marines, it's just such a massive loss to make up already that they are still halfway through this map here. We are at almost 4 minutes into it, and there's just such a massive gap still between them.
Extinct again. Oh no. Yeah, I mean, it's just unfortunate. Once you go down this far, I mean, you have to win 3 or 4 fights just to even tie. It's really tough to come back in this game mode. And I think, I mean, being down, Maddie does have mines now. Boo's gonna be close to her EMP. This will be, I mean, this is gonna be probably, oh, okay, mines are down, so.
Yeah, Maddie let loose with the mines there, and Optibot about to do it as well, but does smell that hack coming and does hold on to it just to save it for a bit of a rainy day here. EMP ready to launch as Boo does clean up. Hateful Ace, Maddie all eating that as well, but crucially Cambo did not get caught out, so that overhealth from Soundbearer is still able to layer over the members of Crimson Marines. Maddie and Cambo still falling so low as JBL Speaker are still here. Boo cleans up that Lucio player, so Crimson Marines have to be so careful around this high ground here, and as you were saying, Gilcher, there's just no way for them to get back into this fight with just the massive early deficit they were dealing with coming on to the just distance of the cart being pushed here. As we got another blade out from Maru trying to find those squishier targets, we'll have to settle for Maddie here as this fight drags on and on into the spawn of Crimson Marines here. One by one, the members alive trickle in and fall down as it's only just the Lucio and the ball left on the objective here as Maddie is able to get out with her life for a moment longer, but that rush coming through from Barry should be enough to sustain the rest of JBL Speaker here moving forward, and that overhealth from the Wrecking Ball is enough to keep Maddie alive for just a few seconds longer, but that is all you're going to get at the end of the day. The members of Crimson Marines falling one by one as JBL Speaker clean up, rolling forward, the celebratory minefield held for so long by Optibot in fear of those hacks, but is judiciously deployed at the very end of the round, end of the map, end of the series here, as JBL Speaker will take the series over Crimson Marines in 3-0 fashion.
Yeah, and you do feel for Crimson Marines having Ringer. It's obviously not ideal. It's probably a different look team. They didn't have a Ringer, especially in Flex Support. That's such a impactful role right now with the Anas, the Curies, occasional being players, but it's like there's a lot. But on the flip side too, I mean, Maru had an insane game 3. I feel like every blade he pulled, besides the one at the end, had huge value in 2 or 3 picks, and then just kind of dashing through everybody. And obviously the power of Sombra too. You see against Ball, it's just such a frustrating matchup because everything you want to do just gets countered by hack. And the biggest part about Sombra too, I think that's kind of not talked about, is the health packs. When you're playing Ball, right, you're fighting for all the health packs, the megas, the smalls, and if the enemy Sombra is just marking those and hacking the whole time, it makes your life as Ball so much easier, or so much harder, not hard, easier, harder. Sorry, there is a fruit fly, it's driving me nuts. Anyhow, but yeah, so yeah, Sombra obviously got huge value. So did the Genji. Yeah, I think Crimson. I mean, you had that first map. I would definitely look this over, evaluate it, review it, see what went wrong. I think a lot of it's just kind of the coordination on the dives, kind of clean that up, and then I mean, it's a long season, so a lot of ways to improve. And then JBL, yeah, they had a great game, 3-0. I mean, besides that first point, really, it was pretty dominant from them. So.
Yeah, as we were saying, there's still plenty of room in this series here. We are just in the second week, so still tons of time for Crimson Marines to make up that difference there. As you're saying, completely echoing all of that. Dealing with a ringer, of course, is not ideal coming into a match as hotly contested as this one was. And it has to be said that for plenty of moments there, Crimson Marines were able to shine, but it really shown here with the MVP on the side of JBL Speaker, and that is going to be Optibot. It is our tank, the one who is leading the charge all the way through, the one whose Wrecking Ball we questioned in the very first map of the series, but by the time we got to the second and third was really showing up over their opponents here. So well-earned MVP, really leading the charge. Of course, all those coordinated dives that you wanted to see out of Crimson Marines, you were seeing on the side of JBL Speaker in no small part thanks to Optibot here. Just going at that pincer with that Sombra, with that Tracer, all together tied up and led through with this Wrecking Ball. Beautiful stuff to watch.
We used to call him OptiGo back in the day. Great map out of him. Once he swapped to the Ram, that first map, I mean, he kind of just go from there. I think his Sigma play was awesome. Okay, he had shut down that first dive and kind of snowballed the series. And even the ball in the last map, I mean, his ball looked really well on that last map. Their whole coordination down the team. Great series out of Opti. Congrats to him.
All right, folks, we're going to take a look at the standings here before we wrap it up for today, just to look and see where we are here in the rookie division for Series 3. So yeah, right now, of course, you've got some teams who've played 2 and some teams who've only played 1 so far. So Eternal, Beat, Drop Bears, JBL Speaker, and UK and Griffin are rounding out the top of the division right now. But again, as early on as we are, there's still plenty of room for these middle-of-the-pack teams, and even the ones at the latter end of the standings here, to make some victories to be had. Again, has to be mentioned that these bottom 5 teams have only played 1 game here. So coming through, some of them will certainly have 1-1 score lines coming through, making the middle of the pack seem a bit murkier as we go on, which is what we love to see. I want to see a nice competitive division coming through. But yeah, it looks like these top 3 right now are really head and shoulders above the rest.
Yeah, JBL looked really, really strong right there. Obviously, Eternal Beat Drop, 6-0 map count. I mean, that's obviously very strong. I think a lot of it right now is just who can play the double flex DPS comps the best. I think those are probably the strongest teams. Like we saw, Maru looked very, very strong on the Tracer, or I'm sorry, on the Genji, and then their Sombra play looked really good. I think a lot of it right now, which is kind of the meta, is so favored towards the dive. I just think it's the teams that are the best at the dive and the brawl that are really going to be at the top of this right now.
All right, folks, I think we can take a look at the matches we have coming up for the rest of the week just before we sign off here. So there's a couple things left to see. We're only on a Monday after all. Looking at our intermediate division, you're going to see Tamu versus Ragnarok Loki, and that is Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. right here. And in our advanced division, it's going to be Billings Boomers and Dapper Dynasty Thursday at 8:30. So same time, but a different day. Wednesday, Thursday for intermediate and advanced divisions, respectively. You do not want to miss these matches. Again, we're still early in the season, so a good chance to see where these teams are starting to shake out.
Yep, and right now Loki and a lot of people on that team. Be exciting to watch that. Should be a good match. But yeah, I'm excited, and it's early in the season, so we'd kind of see all these new faces, new teams, and kind of how they're looking. So I'm excited.
All right, folks, that is going to do it for us tonight. From Rags, Guildcheer, and everyone else, thank you so much for joining us on this wonderful Monday night game here. There's plenty more to come throughout the week. Have a great rest of your night, and we'll see you in just a few days.